It's 2:12 a.m. on April 15th, 1912. The RMS Titanic has just minutes to live. All around the decks are full of chaos, as passengers scramble to the false security of the ship's stern to those scrambling to get on the last remaining collapsible boats. All hell has broken loose. Through all of this panic and feeling of hopelessness, the ship's band, which had been playing throughout the whole night to cheer up passengers, plays one final tune. Nearer, My God, to Thee. It's a song that, if you're familiar with the Titanic, have heard about plenty of times. It makes a great story about the band, as after playing cheery music all through the night to conclude their performance with this sad hymn just as the water is about to overtake them. You cannot deny that. But over the years, there has been a huge debate. Did Nearer, My God, to Thee really play that night? Or is it just a myth to make the sinking of the Titanic even more dramatic? Today, we will figure that out. To first answer this question, we have to go back and figure out where this all started, the testimonies of those who said they heard it. Carlos Hurd, a 36-year-old reporter from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, was traveling aboard the Carpathia when the Titanic sank. After picking up survivors, Captain Rostron made it clear many times to the passengers on the ship to leave the survivors alone. However, Hurd ignored those instructions. It isn't known who he interviewed, but the first report he released said this.
As the screams in the water multiplied, another sound was heard, strong and clear at first, then fainter in the distance. It was the melody of the hymn Nearer, My God, to Thee, played by the string orchestra in the dining saloon. Some of those on the water started to sing the words, but grew silent as they realized that for the men who played, the music was a sacrament soon to be consummated by death. The serene strains of the hymn and the frantic cries of the dying blended in a symphony of sorrow.
This seems to be one of the more detailed accounts to Nearer, My God, to Thee playing, as another one that can be found is from second-class passenger Charlotte Collier, who escaped in Lifeboat 14, gave two accounts of it playing in different testimonies, but I will just be listing one.
No sound reached us except the music of the band, which I seemed, strange to say, to be aware of for the first time. Oh, those brave musicians! How wonderful they were! They were playing lively tunes, ragtime, and they kept it up to the very end. Only the engulfing ocean had power to drown them into silence. The band was playing Nearer, My God, to Thee. I could hear it distinctly. The inn was very close.
These two accounts paint a clear picture of what happened in those last few minutes that fateful night. And while it would be easy to say that these are conclusive evidence that the band played the tune that night, there are accounts that counter this that cannot be ignored. Colonel Archibald Gracie was a first-class passenger aboard the RMS Titanic and survived by swimming onto the capsized collapsible boat B. When asked about Nearer, My God, to Thee, he said this.
I assuredly should have noticed it and regarded it as a tactless warning of immediate death to us all and one likely to create panic.
The problem with this is that Colonel Archibald Gracie would have been right where the water was when this was all happening, and you can only imagine how the scene would have been. People would have been screaming and shouting over each other as water was rushing from everywhere. It would have made it very hard for him to have heard the song. Considering that those who heard it say it was faintly played, I can imagine it being the case for Gracie as well. I have a theory as to what they meant by faintly, but I will explain that later. Junior wireless operator Harold Bride survived by swimming to collapsible boat B as well, but unlike Gracie, he did hear music. He would have been out on the boat deck for a good few minutes prior to the supposed time Nearer, My God, to Thee played, and it's apparent in his testimony.
From aft came the tunes of the band. It was a ragtime tune, I don't know what. Then there was Autumn and Phillips ran aft. That was the last I ever saw of him alive. I had only one thing on my mind, to get away from the suction. The band was still playing. I guess all of the band went down. They were playing Autumn then. The way the band kept playing was a noble thing. I heard it first while still we were working wireless, when there was a ragtime tune for us, and the last I saw of the band, when I was floating out in the sea with my lifebelt on, it was still on deck playing Autumn. How they ever did it I cannot imagine. That and the way Phillips kept sending after the captain told him his life was his own, and to look out for himself, are two things that stand out in my mind over all the rest.
Now, a notable thing to take from Bride is the constant mention of the song, Autumn. Many have used his testimony as a reason to argue that it was this that played over Nearer, My God, to Thee. but the same thing for Gracie can be applied here, as it would have been pure chaos and so loud to really hear anything well. With that said, the constant mention of autumn cannot be ignored, and that deserves a whole separate video to talk about, as there are debates on what exactly he meant by that. But most have claimed that he was talking about Songe d'Automne, which was a waltz found in the Titanic songbook. However, there are other testimonies saying that they heard autumn, but have described it as an old, familiar hymn, which is nothing close to what Songe d'Automne is. First-class passenger Margaret Hayes survived on lifeboat number 7 and recalled this.
I saw the ship pitch forward. I saw the propellers of the ship against the horizon. The band was playing until the ship made the final plunge. The selection was that old familiar hymn, Autumn. Before that, the band played popular selections.
The same faintly scenario can be applied here for Mrs. Hayes, and she must have not heard it, as another account from first-class passenger Helen Candy, who survived on lifeboat number 6, said this.
And then trembled the last strains of the orchestra's message, Autumn first, then Nearer My God to Thee.
With this in mind, it appears that autumn came first before Nearer My God to Thee, and with the many testimonies saying that they heard it, it is very sure to say that it did. Now, if you recall, I said I had a theory as to why it may have been heard so faintly, and my reason's this. I believe Wallace Hartley and the cellist, John Woodward, were the only ones to have played it. Unlike the rest of the band, they were both Methodist and would have been familiar with the Proprio Deo version. I believe Wallace Hartley would have started and Woodward joined in after. With it being a duet, I believe it would have been much harder to hear them than if the whole band had played, as all the others weren't Methodist and were more likely to have known the Horbury version better. This theory definitely explains why it would have been heard so faintly and why some may have missed it, especially Colonel Gracie and Harold Bride. Most people would have heard only Autumn because I believe the entire band played that together, as they would have all known the tune, but not the same versions of Nearer My God to Thee. The debate over Nearer My God to Thee playing has gone for so long, but I hope this video shed some light on how it's very likely that it did, and that this video answered the mystery behind Autumn. I think I might make a video talking about Autumn in the future, as there is a lot of mystery to it, but I hope that this video shed some light on it. If you watched all the way to the end, I thank you for watching. Consider liking and subscribing, as it would mean a lot to me, and it shows that you would want to see more videos like this. Feel free to comment any suggestions on what I should talk about in the future, but with that, take care.